Hello, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this discussion today. Although I am unable to join you live, I know my fellow panelists are well placed to carry on this important dialogue and to challenge our organizations to be bold in addressing the climate emergency. I'd like to share with you my answers to 5 questions posed to the panel. Those questions are, so what are we doing in this space? How do we build a culture of commitment to sustainability? What guides us? What is the role of other organizations, and how do our programs at Royal Road support this work? So in terms of bold actions that we've taken in this space, when I joined Royal Roads 2 years ago, climate action was, and it continues to be, a top priority. The climate emergency, as we know, has become an existential threat like nothing any of us has ever encountered. And I truly believe that higher education is strongly positioned to take bold and transformative action. Royal Roads particularly is an inspiring place for this work, and anyone who's been lucky enough to visit our campus knows and feels that deeply. I personally draw inspiration from this place and its people. The deep cultural significance of the Kosapsan and Kwangan ancestors and families, the richness of the forests, creeks, rivers, and oceans, and the faculty, staff, and students who embody our values of courage, creativity, and caring. In many ways, the real work has just begun, and I'm excited about our path ahead. But some of the actions I've taken include the development of a new strategic plan, a new vision for the university over the next 25 years with the vision statement, inspiring people with the courage to transform the world. And it has a set of goals and actions that provide a focus on the climate crisis, as well as the interconnected social, economic, and political challenges, and in particular on advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I've also moved, with the support of my colleagues, to divest from fossil fuels, mining, and pipelines in our investments. And that divestment was completed as of March 5th, 2020. We as well have created a Climate Action Task Force, which is a cross-disciplinary group of faculty, staff, and students, which was established following a campus-wide conversation on climate action. And this task force is charged with delivering a new climate action plan this year, which will focus on not only the operations of the institution, but our programs and our engagement with communities beyond our walls as well. As well, we have provided significant support to academic initiatives, program and research as well. We've launched, for instance, a Masters in Climate Action Leadership program. We are paving the way as well for a legacy of Canada research chairs focusing on things like advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals, reimagining capitalism, and also on climate change, biodiversity, and sustainability. Last spring as well, we launched the Cascade Institute, which is led by Dr. Thomas Homer Dixon, who is one of the country's leading complex system scientists. And this institute researches and addresses complex global systems and identifies effective interventions that could rapidly shift the course towards fair and sustainable prosperity. The issue of how you build a kind of internal culture to maintain that commitment to sustainability is an interesting one. And at Royal Roads, we are known for our commitment to sustainability, innovation, and leadership. And that reputation itself acts as a positive feedback loop where our institutional strengths have also become values. And there are a few areas of focus that I believe will create the necessary organizational culture. For us, climate change is defined as a must. It isn't an optional thing. We really have to focus on climate action. And a climate lens is needed on every single decision, program, and policy we make. We need to get serious, we need to get specific, and we need to do this fast. Just as we have a whole of university response to COVID-19, we need as well every department and portfolio area working with a climate lens. We also need to increase our capacity as an institution through education, awareness, and agency raising. Once you really appreciate the scale and the imminence of the problem we are facing, it becomes clear that we need to do much more than take individual action. We need to work with fellow institutions, post-secondary institutions, but also with all kinds of organizations across society to advance this agenda. These are complex, multifaceted problems which require collaboration. Leadership support as well is needed and is present every step of the way. I'm very excited about the work, for instance, that the task force is doing, but implementation, I know, will require courage, dedicated investments by the university, and a willingness to adapt and adjust. And as leaders, we need to model that commitment. We also need to listen and to connect. We need to listen to voices that aren't typically in the room. This is part of our broader equity, diversity, and inclusion agenda, whether it's because of barriers that have been in place because of race, gender, economic status, or other barriers, visible or invisible. We need to approach climate solutions with ways of thinking that challenge worldviews and experiences driving the crisis. And that sort of diversity of viewpoints, opinions, and experiences will help us solve some of these wicked problems. Finally, we also need to celebrate. We need to remind ourselves that what we do, in fact, is and what we have done, in fact, has led to a lot of progress, and we need to celebrate that progress. Our collective hope, agency, and caring for this world will keep us going. And I do think there's a danger of just becoming disillusioned and passive in the face of the immensity of these challenges. So hope is really important, and optimism is important. In terms of the values that guide our work here, our university values are creativity, caring, and courage. And I can tell you that they personally guide me in my thinking and in my actions. We care deeply, and I care deeply about the environment and about future generations. We need to be incredibly creative as we tackle some of these challenges. And we will need courage. Courage because we've got some big decisions to make, some hard decisions to make. And we're not only dealing with climate mitigation, we are also dealing with climate adaptation. Climate change is upon us right now, and we need courage to kind of tackle what is in front of us. In terms of the larger role of all organizations in mobilizing for the climate emergency, in a way it's very simple. I would just say, the basic point that we can't stand by idly watching, seemingly half aware, as this climate crisis develops into a global catastrophe. If every organization mobilized with the same urgency and focus that we have over the last 10 months to tackle the pandemic, that would be incredible. And really, we can't move fast enough. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada, Bank of England, and now in his role at the UN with a particular brief on climate, said it well. He said, the biggest risk is that we talk and talk and talk about this for another 5 or 10 years, and then we have to make even more drastic adjustments to stabilize the climate. So in addition to action within each of our organizations, we must step back and take stock of what's out there. What is our ability to act as influencers, partners, role models, or advocates? How do we activate those conversations and relationships to affect change? And how can we make that change happen in a way that protects the most vulnerable? All of this requires new models of collaborative leadership and adaptive capacity building. But when it comes down to it, our common rallying point is a love for this planet. And for this, I think we can harness high levels of focus, courage, and resilience as individuals, as organizations, and as a society. So how do Royal Roads programs support this work? Royal Roads is a purpose-driven university with sustainability and change-making at its core. As a higher education institution, change-making leadership is one thing that really defines us. Within and across disciplines, we focus on enabling our students to lead and make positive change in a complex world. And this is built into our very foundations and expressed in our learning, teaching, and research model. And climate action and sustainability is included in curricula and research projects throughout the university. So this really concludes my response to the panel questions. Thank you all for listening, and I wish you the very best for a stimulating and productive discussion on this hugely important topic. Thank you.